All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army episode 2.246. We got a lot to talk about this week. So we're going to start out with headlines. We'll talk financial fair play, Newcastle's alleged nefariousness, Messi, of course, and then a little transfer talk. Speaking of transfer talk, weekly what if will be Gio Reyna related. Premier League, this will be abbreviated because we don't have too many games last weekend, don't have too many games this coming weekend. So,
Yep.
we'll talk a little bit about United Spurs and a little bit about maybe, City, Newcastle, maybe some
Mhm.
LFC talk because we got as a you see everybody watching on YouTube knows who I'm here with. Around the world, we got AFCON and Asian Cup and Spanish Super Cup. That'll be very short, and then stoppage time with Ivan Tony's best bets. Where, by the way, we are cooking with thermonuclear gas again in the overtrain. We are looking good, feeling good. We are. Ooh, it is just a good time to be an overtrain rider. Hope everybody's riding with us. So stay tuned for that, of course. And then everyone's favorite segment, Goes. Now, time to welcome in this week's beauty, the, as always, meticulously coiffed Alex Bono of DC United. And yes, he is a goalkeeper, as we all know, but we're not going to hold it against him because you know what? Goalkeepers can be great people too off the field. So thank you, Alex, for hopping on, and hopefully you enjoyed that fair and balanced intro. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Doing well. Preseason just getting underway for our, us MLS guys, and so we're getting ready to get into the full swing of things. People all over the world this year, which is kind of new for MLS. We've got a Miami World Tour that's about to start. As well as some other teams in Europe, and obviously Champions League starts soon. So it's almost that time to get going again.
It is. It is. You're already doing two a days.
Yeah.
Listen, you're only basically less than a week into the new managerial reign here with Coach Lassane. I'm glad that you taught me how to say that because I would have sounded like a moron.
It's a
But
tough one.
listen, everybody knows my pronunciation skills are pretty much dog shit, so they wouldn't have been surprised. But here's the thing: Troy Lassane, he's been your coach for a week. He comes over from, he had experience with New Mexico United in USL. He was with your beloved Red Bulls in MLS for a stint there. But just give us your first impressions. What's Troy Lassane all about, and maybe the biggest difference, perhaps, versus the old regime.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's coming with a lot of energy. One of his big harping points these first few days is changing the culture of DC United, changing the way that we view ourselves as a club. A club that has some of the richest history in MLS, albeit it's 28
Antiquated.
years. Albeit it's 28 years, but it's a club that has been traditionally in the history of the league very successful. And while respecting that past and while celebrating that past, we're not going to hang our hat on that. We need to make this club. We want to bring them to the forefront of MLS again, a powerhouse, a force to be reckoned with, if you will. And so that's kind of one of the bases of his new regime. He's super energetic, like you said. I mean, he's been at New Mexico United. He's coached at every level of the American soccer pyramid, which is unique these days for MLS coaches. And it's a great opportunity for him. It's a great opportunity for us players. Very smart guy, very personable guy, and I can speak for the entire group when I say we're really looking forward to working with him.
All right. Sounds good. You listen, you'll be back on before long, and we'll give you a little
Right.
time for
Still fresh.
yeah,
Still
it's
fresh.
still a
There's
little
plenty of
early.
time.
You're in
There's
the
plenty of
honeymoon
time.
phase. You're in the honeymoon
Yeah,
phase right now.
that's right. For some reason, I'm thinking that this is going to be a long, fruitful marriage. If to keep on,
There we
with
go.
that
There we go.
metaphor.
That's the optimism right there. That's what we're looking for. Quick thing though, as we said, he comes over from Red Bulls. So
Mhm.
have you perhaps asked him to do something to demonstrate his allegiance to DC United at this point? Maybe like get like an anti Red Bulls tattoo or something.
I spoke to a couple of guys I know on Red Bull when he was named as the head coach, and resoundingly it was, man, we love this guy. We really wish he stayed. And based on what they did from the time he took over to making the playoffs, he should have stayed. He earned that head coaching job. The Red Bull organization as a whole, Red Bull Global, is kind of, they do things their own way. And keeping a coach on that they brought in an interim basis who has a history outside of the Red Bull training maybe wasn't part of their philosophy and what they wanted to do, which is fine. But I think just that alone is fuel enough to his fire to want to walk into Red Bull Arena and beat up on those guys.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. I still think you should get him to get like one of those Calvin and Hobbes, pissing on the Red Bulls tattoo.
Oh yeah,
Just throw it out there.
I'll stick one on the back of his car when he's not paying attention, and we'll just kind of see how
There you
how
go.
he feels about it.
Just work it in. Work slowly. Exactly.
Anonymously.
Okay, I like this. Yeah. Hopefully he's not listening and doesn't get it when that shows up on his car.
If he is, hey Troy.
All right, we'll move on to headlines. We have some interesting headlines to get to this week, which kind of makes up for the fact there's not a lot of Premier League going on. So first headline is Premier League related. Everton, as we know, they got punished with a 10-point deduction already this season, which you might say was sort of the turning point in a good way for their season, because under Sean Dyche, they have been absolutely killing it ever since then. However, the Premier League, they had so much fun that they want to do it again. It sounds like they're coming back at Everton for some more financial fair play violations, and also Nottingham Forest is looped in this time. So that's the news, or at least news nugget number one. Number two is the Premier League. Somebody at the Premier League confirmed, and this is related, confirmed that Man City is, they've set a date for the Manchester City hearing to discuss the 115 violations that the club is facing right now. But while they've set that hearing date, they're just not ready to tell us what that date is yet. Why in the world that is, I have absolutely no idea, but well done to the Premier League. They're just adding another layer of just sort of ridiculousness to this situation. So I'll go off on my quick rant and say, I'm not even going to go into the details of the latest Everton, allegations and whatever Nottingham Forest is supposedly have done. I don't care because until the Premier League makes a decision on Manchester City and their 115 violations, until we have an idea of what happens to Man City, I don't give a single fuck about what Everton did, what Nottingham Forest did, even what Chelsea, which, that had been going on for a while now. I don't care about anything and anybody until Manchester City's, case has been heard, a decision has been made, and it's not only just been made, but it's been explained why, why they're given whatever it is they're given. So, and I'm sure, I think that goes for pretty much everybody, with a brain at this point and a fan, except for maybe Manchester City fans. My question for you, Alex, is I hear a lot of different thoughts on this. What do you think is actually going to happen to City? How severe of a punishment if you just had to guess, what do you think they're looking at?
Nothing. And that's kind of a sad way of reinforcing what is and has been for a long time a very corrupt system of global football, right? Like, that's the fact of the matter is, these organizations that run these leagues and run these teams and run world football, it is littered with corruption. And we can throw Everton a 10-point drop, okay, that's fine, but you're talking about Manchester City in a title race, right? Like, they're not just going to deduct 10. I hope they do. And for me, I'm sick of financial fair play being discussed about and then having different ramifications and different repercussions for different teams, different leagues, different places around the world. Juventus got a 19-point, or whatever it was. Like, there's so much differentiating who gets punished what. I don't know why that is. I don't know kind of what adds into the reasoning behind that, but until there's a blanket punishment, right? Like, just in any law in a world, like, there's a range of punishments that you can get depending on what the crime is, how bad the crime was. Until there's something like that, and until it is enforced in a realistic, reasonable, and timely manner, financial fair play is just going to be this mystical, magical rule that whoever is going to decide the punishment. And I don't think that's fair for Everton, right? And if Man City get a 10-point ban, is that fair that Everton got a 10-point ban when what they did was, I don't know, less of breaching the rules than what Manchester City has done? And I'm so sick of the different variations of the punishments, the different variations between the leagues. And until they come out with some blanket punishment, I'll continue to look at it like that.
It's a joke. It's a joke, and everybody looks at it like that. You know, when Man City beat the Rap in front of UEFA, everybody's like, "This is a joke." And now, of course, at least the Premier League is sort of still going after them. And I have nothing against Man City. Like, I love watching them play. They're incredible. I got nothing against their fans. You know, a lot of people sort of get on fans for being, Johnny comes latelys or whatever, but there's a lot of Man City fans who were through, the wars with them and have stuck with them. And I'm glad that those people who stuck with them that whole time, they've gotten to experience the highest of the highs. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing about Man City. The longer this goes, and then you have these serious punishments that are being handed down so far just to Everton, but, maybe Everton again and Nottingham Forest. The longer this goes and there's some serious punishments handing out for things that seem far less serious than what Man City is accused of, mm-hmm. I'm starting to legitimately think that Man City might be in serious trouble. Like, I don't know what that looks like. I really don't. I do have we've all been through 2008, too big to fail, right? And that's what this feels like. Man City, they're too rich to fail. And it's sort of the rules for thee but not for me type of thing, because they got the best lawyers in the world and all that stuff. We've all been through that, but I'm starting to think, I'm just starting to feel like, you know what, City might be in for some serious shit here, and especially if the hearing and the decision and all that and the timeline really starts to line up with Pep's contract ending, which I think is at like the end of the 24-25 season. Things are starting to get, line up that there might be something at the end of this that is a serious punishment, like, being dropped down league or something like that. We've been through, we've seen it. Juventus had to go through that. It's not unprecedented. I'm not saying that's going to happen, because I really do, at the end of the day, I do think that money talks, and too rich to fail is a thing. Mm-hmm. But there's just a kernel of doubt or a kernel of thought in the back of my tiny little pea brain that's starting to suggest City might be in trouble. That's all my takeaway at this point.
Yeah, and there's definitely an argument to be made for that. I'm on that too big to fail side.
Yeah.
And I think that Man City as a brand over their rise and their reign has gotten such a large global fan base. The Premier League needs Manchester City, right? And that's kind of where it's at right now. The Premier League might not think that, but they do, in terms of, the following that they've gotten, the players that they've brought in, the money that they've spent, and how they've helped grow the league even bigger than it was. And that's just the facts. By bringing in Pep, by bringing in the players, that's just kind of the way it's been. And so for me to think or agree with you that it's going to be a punishment that big, like, what other kind of punishments are we talking about? We're talking about a transfer ban. Like, okay, like Man City will be fine. Or you can put a 2-year transfer ban on them. They'll be fine. They'll live. They'll survive. But again, for me, it's just, there has to be some sort of blanket rule, blanket punishment for these teams. And based on the severity of it, there's different, maybe let's put it in different categories of severity, right? At the worst of the worst, if it's this Man City case, it's the worst of the worst. Maybe we're talking 25, 30 points. That really derails a season for them, right? That puts them mid-table. Right? You're not going to put them in a relegation battle. And if you did, it's Man City. They'd find a way out. But, you're basically taking away their opportunity to win a championship. Yeah. You're taking their possibility away to win a trophy. And that, for me, for a club like that, is a pretty severe punishment.
Yeah. And speaking of which, can I say the one thing that I'm like just absolutely, I will never get on the Premier League about this, and I will be forever grateful. Thank God, whatever the punishment is, did not come down last season. Because if Arsenal had won that fucking title, my life would be shit. And you know what? thank God the Premier League. So I'm definitely talking out of both sides of my mouth right here, but thank God they didn't fucking punish.
Well, it's your fan and your pundit talking at the same time, right? Like
exactly.
And we're all victim of that sometimes.
Oh, the Tweedles would never shut up about that if they won a goddamn title. So thank you, Premier League, for dragging your feet just a little bit. But now the time to make a decision.
Let's speed it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Liverpool's in first. Let's speed it up.
Now, speaking of clubs that are too big to fail, too rich to fail, we got some Newcastle news. So if, say, Man City, do get thrown into the National League or whatever the, non-league football, they got Newcastle ready to step right up into that spot. But this is not really about that. So Newcastle, their owner got hit with some heavy accusations today. In fact, Yasir Al-Rumayyan, who's also the head of the PIF, he's the face of Live Golf. He has been sued for $74 million. And this is for allegedly carrying out MBS, obviously the guy that is, what's his official title? Is it president? I don't know, whatever it is. Premier
Shah.
for life, Shah, whatever the
something.
Hell it is. He's the head of Saudi Arabia. And he's, the one who, allegedly done a lot of bad things. So he told Newcastle's owner, allegedly, to harm, silence, and ultimately destroy the family of Saudi Arabia's former intelligence chief. So I'll take a couple thoughts on this. Number one, yikes. Big time yikes. Number two, important to remember, people are going to take this news and run with it and bury Newcastle and bury El Rumayyan. They're going to, that's just what people do. It sort of feeds into our preconceptions about, what the Premier League getting in bed with Saudi Arabia is going to be all about. Being alleged or being sued, that is a lot different than being guilty, right?
Absolutely.
So everybody, let's slow down a little bit on all the burying and dancing on graves and all that stuff. But also number three, yikes, because that's serious stuff. Anything else to add?
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because I was going to say myself, this defamation is a real thing, and it's very possible that this could be true. It's very possible that this could be, an opponent of his trying to really create some trouble for him. And so I was going to say, I won't take a side on this, because, there's cases like this all the time with people who are much less rich and famous than he, who have their lives completely ruined by an accusation that isn't true, or are rightly convicted because the accusation is true. And so until, the jury is still out, literally and figuratively, on how we feel about the situation, I think we can both agree on that.
Yeah, it's too early. So everybody just chill out a little bit.
Yep.
Heavy accusations, but accusations are just accusations. I don't know what the difference between accusation and allegation, but whatever. In our whether it's slander or whatever the libel, I don't really care. My pronunciation obviously is of anything is terrible, and sort of my specificness on the data, on the words verbiage doesn't matter either. So let's all pump the brakes on that. Next up, quickly, Leo Messi. He beat out Erling Haaland and Kylian Mbappe to win the FIFA Player of the Year award. This despite the fact that the time frame for the award did not include the World Cup. So it ran from December 2022, right after the World Cup was over, and Messi, was crowned champion along with Argentina. It runs from December 2022 through August 2023. In that time, his main accomplishment, aside from attracting millions of eyeballs to MLS and Leagues Cup specifically, is winning Leagues Cup. That was his big sort of accomplishment. Where in the same time frame, Erling Haaland basically won everything under the sun. Now, granted, that was with a Man City team that, as we've discussed, is pretty damn good. But your thoughts as an MLS player? Is this legit? Is it farcical? Is it somewhere in the middle?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of this is based on players from around the world's votes, right?
I'm not sure. I don't know how it plays in. It might.
I'm not sure exactly how they released people's ballots, and it was a big deal that Modric had voted for him and whatever. And this is kind of like that, MVP voting, if you will, right? Like we have here in American sports, where a portion of it is the pundits and a portion of it is the players themselves, and then there's fan voting or whatever. But it seems to me like the way at least I've kind of intaken it
Taking it in.
is taken how I've taken it in is that his peers have voted him as the best. And from that perspective, like, whatever his biggest accomplishment was, the fact that the timeline of this starts after the World Cup. The World Cup is still very fresh in people's mind in December, right after the World Cup finishes. And so from that perspective, to say, well, he can't possibly win this because the World Cup was before this and he was voted, from a timeline that started after the World Cup. Well, it's voting. It's not like this magical machine just kind of calculates who has the best season. Real players vote on who they think is deserving of this award. And so from that perspective, I have no arguments about it. Do I think that he had the best season last year? No. Is the award even about the best season? Is it like the Ballon d'Or in that sense? Or are we just voting for who the players think is the best player in the world? And the fact that big players in world football put him on their ballots as in their top three, a lot of them, enough to have him win the award, how can we have any sort of complaint about that as fans?
Fair enough. That's a good argument. I did just look it up, and you're right. It's team coaches, captains, expert journalists, and fans. I guess that's who all was involved. So,
yep.
Yeah, that's a fair counter argument to a lot of the critics online who are very much, as they want to do on Twitter, hating on something. All right. Quickly, the other.
Wait, hold on.
You got something else? Go for it.
Well, you didn't hear your thoughts on it.
Oh, I think it's a bit farcical.
if you were given a vote as an expert journalist,
yeah,
which you are, who is your top three for that voting?
I probably would have given it to Haaland.
Okay.
I'm a card carrying member, at least emeritus member of the Goal Scorers Union. So I can appreciate the skill and the talent and the hard work and the just acumen and the good looks that it takes to score goals left, right, and center. And he had an incredible year. But I also, I'm willing to hear the arguments that like he's played for Man City and you're getting fed balls by Kevin De Bruyne. So, there's something there where Messi's just everywhere, and he carried an entire, continent to a certain extent for a year there. So I can hear the arguments against this. And Kylian Mbappe right now is probably, if there's one player in the world that you just would never want to face, you just don't want to face, it'd probably be him. So I can see the argument there. I would give it to Haaland though. That's who my votes would have been for.
I think one of my big things is if you place these guys on teams that aren't as successful, will they dominate as much as other guys? Right? Mm-hmm. Like if you put Haaland in MLS, like he would score a shit ton of goals, of course. Right? Like we're not trying to debate that here. But and maybe this isn't really an impact award, but the impact Haaland would have an MLS, that Mbappe would have an MLS. It doesn't quite have the same impact, right? Like global football is now watching MLS because of Messi. Is global football watching MLS if only Haaland comes? Or I don't know, maybe they are. But there is something to be said for the impact that he has on world football and what he does for the game as a whole. And I don't know if there's a player in the world still, even at his, elderly football age, where he's still doing it.
Yeah.
People can knock MLS all they want. That's fine. But it's a respectable league, and he is here dicing it up like he dices it up everywhere. So for me, like based on that as well, he's always going to be the name that's fresh in people's minds when it comes to voting.
Yeah. Look, when it comes to building Messi's statue, I'll be there. I'll do my part in building that statue. So I never really want to ever sort of argue that, against Messi winning any award. But you asked me a straight question, so I just gave you a straight answer. I would give it to
him. Well, I appreciate it.
Okay. Couple more headlines quickly. Reading. So I didn't post about it on Instagram. Maybe I should have, because I try and sort of cover this sort of thing. But there's, fan protests is just a fact of life these days. sometimes it seems like maybe fans are taking it a little too far. Maybe they're not doing it far enough. Reading, I completely understand what the Reading fans are doing right now. And so for anybody who just hasn't paid attention, they interrupted a game this weekend. They ran it, onto the field from the stands. The game was abandoned. Their big qualm here, bone to pick, is with their owner. And basically, so I read all this on the internet. And internet is the best place in the world to learn everything that's absolutely factual, and I have no reason not to believe it. Basically, what it sounds like is what this owner for Reading has done is he has put, so there's two different companies. There's one company that sort of owns Reading FC and has a whole bunch of debt and all this stuff. If Reading FC goes into bankruptcy and basically disappears, so does all that debt that he and his companies owe. Well, guess what? He has another company that owns the land that the stadium is on and this sort of thing, a different company. So if Reading FC goes away and the fans, lose the beloved club that they've followed for generations, that goes away, but his, ownership of this valuable asset does not, although his debts do. So it sort of sounds like, and maybe that's oversimplified, would the internet sort of pull that sort of thing? No, of course not. But it sort of thinks if there is any factual, is there any fact to that is beyond despicable. And, the fans probably aren't even going far enough in their protests. And this is what like leagues like the EFL, this is what politicians and governments honestly are there for. Like, somebody, if that is what's happening here, they need to step in. And I mean, honestly, just speaking as a complete outsider, like jail time seems like a complete, understandable and valid punishment if that's what this guy is really trying to do, because that's so ridiculous and so over the top. And I know that this is one in many, there's a lot of these stories out there about ownerships taking advantage and doing all this stuff. This seems like it may be sort of so despicable and over the top. I don't know. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, everyone, owners, people with that big of an asset have reasons for doing what they do. And again, if it's a greedy reason, if it's to wipe a football club that is, by the way, a pretty historic football club, off the face of the map, this is a place where somebody like the FA should step in and force a sale or something that is fair and arbitrated, to save really a piece of the history of English football, right? And that's kind of what English football is based on, its history and how rich it is. It's definitely something that I don't think should ever happen. And I do think it is time for governing bodies in the region, FIFA, I don't really know if it has any governance over that area.
They're too busy with throwing money at, Oceania.
Exactly. Figuring out what they're going to do to Manchester City. Someone should step in and force a sale or make sure that this club can stay afloat somehow, with an owner who respects the game and respects the integrity.
Fans, right? Yeah, and the generations of people who have been following, this club as their local club. It's just ridiculous. And this is exactly the type of situation where the EFL kind of has a poor track record of this, handling these sorts of things. So, hopefully they step up, or if they can't, then FA, and if they can't, like actual politicians, like do something. Like the reason you're there is to sort of, protect,
make a change,
relative weak from the relative strong / rich. And
and to create positive change. Like that's,
there you go. That's a much better way. It's a much more positive way.
That's right. We're not talking about Robin Hood. We're talking about change, good change.
There you go. This reminds me of all the, the parenting things that I'm always like getting yelled at about, like being negative. You gotta change it into a positive. I stink at that. And granted, I just showed it right there. And you on the other hand are going to be a great parent because you already know how to change the positive or negative into a positive. All right. Lastly, so I said transfer talk. We're not going to go. There's just so many rumors, all this stuff. We're not going to go through most of them. In fact, we're going to go through almost all. We're going to ignore almost all of them for right now. There is one though I want to get your thoughts on. So the we talked about Miles Robinson deciding to go to FC Cincinnati instead of somewhere like PSV, somewhere in Europe. It came out this week in the last few days that PSV was willing to pay him $550,000 a year, whereas Cincinnati is paying him 1.65 per year. And granted, it's a short-term contract. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, it's a complicated situation. Miles Robinson was getting absolutely dogged on the social media for not going to Europe because obviously everybody, US MNT fans specifically, are just like, if you don't go to Europe, then you're not a serious soccer player, and
Yeah.
you don't have your future is capped. What are your thoughts on the decision here?
Yeah, I think first off, this may be unpopular. I think that some of those hardcore, diehard USMNT Twitter hands,
who we love, by the way, we love
they
you.
think that their fandom is just above MLS. And can you imagine what it would do for the game if the support for MLS was unwavering, as it was for trying to get talented players to go to Europe? Can you imagine what that would do for the culture of the game here in America, right? Like, we're talking about one of the best players to ever play the game has chosen to come play here in our league. And so he's not above MLS. He doesn't think that MLS is too low of a level for him to play at. And so why should we, I say we because I'm also a USMNT fan. I'm not a Twitter fan, but I am a fan. And so why should we think that players here that have a chance to get paid exorbitant amounts of money for the everyday person should go to, like, you look at the Dutch league, right? And outside of a few teams, right, it's a development league. And even those teams, like Ajax profits heavily on developing players and selling them on. Like, that's what the Dutch league is. That's what the Belgian league is. Like, yes, there's Champions League football. Yes, there's titles to be won, but this isn't 2005. It's not 2010 where it's like, if you ever want to make it, if you want to be part of the national team going forward, like, create a poll and ask U.S. men's national team fans if the team is better with Miles Robinson in it or without Miles Robinson in it. And I guarantee you, even like just in the group, right, in the pool, at camps, even as a sub, if you don't think he's a starter, like, I think he's a starter. I think he's an incredible center back. I mean, he came through college, alma mater, Syracuse University.
I'm glad we got our biases out there.
That's right. I honestly, your career is only so long, and the choices that you make and where you go will shape that. And I will never, ever, for my entire life, fault someone for getting a big contract. I'll never hate on someone for getting a big contract. I don't think that Miles needs to go to a place like PSV to be a successful men's national player. I don't think he needs to go to Europe at all to be seen as a successful professional. And that's just kind of the way that I view things. Like I said, this isn't 2010. MLS is a respectable league. It's comparable to leagues like that. Mm-hmm. And that's not just me giving my opinion. That is just like, on all metrics, like, that is where the league is headed if it's not already there. And so for him to take a 1-year deal at Cincinnati, who, by the way, is going to be a force to be reckoned with this year, him and Miazga, that's a U.S. men's national team center back pairing, right? So no one's giving it to Miazga for leaving Chelsea and coming back here, right? He's still part of the pool. He's still part of the selection. No one's giving it to him. He took a big payday to come back here too. And so I think that the narrative of you have to go to Europe to be viewed as a top player, I think that is so far gone. It's so old fashioned at this point. It's 2023. Like, MLS is a real fucking league, right? This isn't the beginning days.
Yeah, it's complicated, right? I mean, first of all, he's getting paid 3 times as much. That is a lot of that's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is $1 million difference to go to FC Cincinnati, which, as you made a pretty good argument, is not, going to play, National League in England, right? I mean, MLS is a legitimate league. I think people sort of have an antiquated, old-fashioned view of it. Mm-hmm. I do think that if he, I think his ceiling is high enough. I think enough of his potential that I do hope he does try and go test himself at an even
Sure.
higher level, right?
And I don't, but I guess my point now is you look at some of the moves that have come from MLS. You don't need to go to a place like the Netherlands or Belgium. Like it works for some people, it doesn't work for others. Like Georgi Mihailovic is back in Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
and he's getting a big payday, and no one's giving it to him,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like just because he chose not to go over there. Again, ask anyone who works at any office job. If the big company comes and offers you, you know, $80,000, or there's a small startup that's going to offer you 3 times, or a smaller company that's going to offer you 3 times what you're making, what are you going to do? Are you going to go to this place because there's a chance that, you know, you could do something really cool, right? Like people got bills, people got things they want to achieve. And I'm sure Miles does too. And on the same topic, like moving overseas is not like a spur of the moment easy thing to do for some people, right? Like um it's not something that some people feel comfortable doing or find easy doing. And once you get there, sometimes you feel like you just want to be home. You want to be close to family. You want to be, and again, it's not like you're retiring or quitting. You're playing in a legitimate league that plays for legitimate trophies and in real tournaments. And so, you know, there's my rant on you know, young talents trying to be forced to go to Europe. I don't think it's necessary.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a perfectly valid argument. I agree with it to a certain point, and then I
Yeah.
think that let him get a payday, maybe another payday. He's still young, but then I really do hope he tests himself. I really do, hope he goes overseas and
There's something to
sees.
be said about that. It's just you know, if it's a top 5 league, right? Even a really good championship team like a, you know, a Leeds or something, or something that you know, a club that has a chance to go to the Premier League, like okay, I can see that taking the risk and taking the jump. But I don't think that in this day and age you have to go to a development league to make that next jump to an even
Mhm.
higher one. I don't think that's necessary anymore.
There's a solid argument that MLS is sort of becoming just in a development league, just like that. So
Yeah.
it's a fair point. Okay, we're going to stay on transfer talk. We're going to move to weekly what if. So there's a lot of rumors, a lot of smoke at the moment about Gio Reyna, and I hate talking about transfer rumors, but there's certain players, Christian Pulisic, Gio Reyna, that when it comes to as much smoke as out there, and the fact that his time with Dortmund absolutely seems like it's done, given that the fact that his coach is blind and probably deaf and dumb and refuses to play him. Um, it sounds like Gio Reyna is absolutely moving. So we'll entertain some transfer rumors here quickly. Weekly what if time. If, even though it feels like when, if Gio Reyna moves on in the January transfer window, where would be your ideal landing spot for him, Alex Bono?
Yeah, I'm gonna put my fan hat on again, and I'm gonna say, as a fan of USMNT, I want Gio Reyna to go anywhere where he is playing his best version of himself. Right? Like he is playing at the level of the best version of himself, whether that is a Sevilla, right, a La Liga team, where I think that he'd fit in great. Um, but I don't care about players going to the biggest clubs and not making that much of an impact. I would rather him be on a team that values him, that wants him to be a part of what they're building there, and for him to find his best form. Because at the end of the day, him being out of favor at Dortmund isn't helping himself, isn't helping the men's national team. I just want him to be at a place where he is at his best. Because at the end of the day, that makes everyone happy. I don't care if he goes to you know, AC Milan or a big team or anything like that. I want him to go somewhere where he's valued and where he shows the type of player that he is, and he's playing his best football.
I agree with all that. And then I'm going to give you some specifics. So I heard, in fact, Barstool Chief Ryan, he texted me. He's like, "What do you think about Gio to Nottingham Forest?" I was like, I mean, I think that he being Gio can be a difference maker wherever he goes, and I think he could. I don't think he would have a problem with the physicality of the Premier League. I do think well, number one, I mean, like his health is obviously the big question mark, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
just sort of always the big question mark with him. I don't think that physicality is really a problem. He's a big boy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he can handle that sort of thing. I would like to see him go to somewhere like Spain, where he would sort of maximize his technical ability. Perhaps not be in sort of as many physical confrontations, and that sort of thing. Or maybe France. I mean, selfishly, I kind of don't want him to go to France because it's sort of tough to watch the French league. Like it's not as easy as like say La Liga or Bundesliga or
Mm-hmm.
Premier League or even Serie A.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see what if he went to Monaco and played. I know Fuller and Balogun has came out the gates hot with Monaco. He sort of hit the little doldrums recently. Maybe Gio shows up there. They sort of develop a better connection, the two of them. I mean, that in an ideal world,
Sure.
there or AC Milan,
Mm-hmm.
with Pulisic and Yunus Musa would be amazing.
Of course.
But just if I were to pick a club, it would probably be somewhere like Real Sociedad or Sevilla's having a tough season.
Yeah.
The vibes are off there, so I don't really. Maybe he could help to return things around. It's obviously a club with a lot of tradition, a lot of history, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
wins. So if he could turn that around, obviously that'd be brilliant.
Of
Villarreal has the American connection with Pepito. What the hell?
Yeah.
Blanking on his last name, but he obviously sort of carried the torch for US/Italy over there. But if I was just going to pick one, I'd say Real Sociedad, and I sort of picture him becoming like the next Martin Odegaard, where he
Sure.
went there, sort of, got his shit together, and just became the player he is with Arsenal right now. That would be
Right.
my ideal scenario if I were to
Yeah.
just pick something right now.
And so often we see guys, the public perception of a guy who is at a club like Dortmund, which I think we can all agree is like that tier one of world football clubs, right? And then go down to a club like a Sociedad or, in recent years, a Sevilla, a club like that, where the public perception is, oh, well, he failed at a big club, right? Like he's got to go to a smaller club to fit in. It's like, no, that's not the case at all, right? Like the case is he's out of favor in Dortmund. It's not that he can't hang, right? Like he's shown time and time again with that club that he can hang and he can excel, right? And be a real bright spot for that group. And
Yep.
so it's not a demotion of sorts. It's a refinding of how good he really is and building his confidence back up and building his form back up. And then it could be any of the big teams in the world, right? His ability is undeniable. And so it's go back, find your form, go to a club where you're valued and you can be a big time player at that club and crush it. And then you will have your pick of the litter. You're right. Your agent will be knocking down phone calls from bigger clubs than you were just at, to move you on to where you deserve to be.
Yeah, it's there's probably some real parallels there with Odegaard. The way he
Mm-hmm.
came through Real Madrid, just didn't
Yeah.
get much playing time. They sent him out but he still showed sort of bursts. I think first of all, Reyna has actually shown more than that at Dortmund at a
Yeah.
level of like Champions League level. But if they send him off to somewhere like Real Sociedad, he sort of shows who he is, what he's all about. His sort of reaches that next level, and then goes wherever he wants. Would
Yeah.
be just an ideal scenario. So we'll see. Hopefully, I mean, we probably won't have long to wait. A couple weeks,
Yep.
and I hope he does get out of Dortmund. I know Dortmund has been great for him. It was great for Pulisic. It's been great for a lot of Americans. But obviously, whatever is going on with Terzic and everything,
Yeah.
it's time to move.
It's time.
Okay, Premier League. Like we said, we're going to keep this pretty short. There was not a lot going on this week, and there was not going on not a lot. There is not going on a lot. Not a lot.
Not a
Jesus.
lot going on.
There we go. Thank you. We'll help each
Yeah.
other through this.
That's right.
We'll hold each other's hand.
That's right.
So United Tottenham was the big one, I would say. City Newcastle also a big game this past week. Those are the two I want to talk about. Burnley Luton, not a great game. It was just sort of the Friday game. It mattered a lot because these teams are fighting to get out of the basement. The only thing I got to say about that game is that VAR absolutely hosed Burnley. They were up 1-0. It was in the stoppage time, and a player clearly, this is coming from somebody who doesn't give GKU much, credit for anything. The player saw the goalkeeper coming. He just backed right into him. The goalkeeper, fell down because he's kind of a pansy probably. But then the Luton player headed it in. They looked at it at VAR and they said, no, that's okay. That goal's fine. I could not believe that. Quickly, your thoughts on that?
First of all, can we have the producer clip that that
Don't clip it, Dalton.
GKU?
Don't listen, Dalton.
Can we clip that and can we put it on a reel and just get it on every social that we got? Outside, can we cut actually the little insult, the little pansy ass insult?
Right, I was gonna say, keep the pansy in there. Keep the pansy.
But the whole clip, the whole compliment minus that, let's clip it and toss it out everywhere. Yeah, I mean, goalkeepers get no respect. Goalkeepers are hated on a lot, and so no, listen, I will say this. I am a big advocate of, I think sometimes goalkeepers get too much protection. They get too much protection. This is one
Clip that one, Dalton. Clip that one.
Yeah. He impedes the goalkeeper too much for it to be going for the ball, right? Like the goalkeeper and the forward go up for a ball and the goalkeeper bobbles it and it's a 50-50. Those are one of those ones that gets called sometimes where I'm like, let that play, right? We can't be, we're not quarterbacks.
If he was going up for the header and did that,
sure.
I'd be like, that's totally fair, understandable.
Right.
He was just doing it for his teammate. He was totally impeding the goalkeeper.
If a center back undercuts a forward undercuts a center back on a long goal kick or something, like, we call that a foul, right? And a foul is a foul, whether it's in the midfield, in the box, wherever it is. And this is one of those times where goalkeeper's looking at the ball, the attacking player is not, and he impedes the goalkeeper's ability to actually make a play at the ball. So for me, definitely foul.
I think probably 85-90% of people would have agreed. And listen, this happens. Soccer is a subjective sport, and this happens. It's just, you got screwed, and that happens sometimes. We move on, Other games, as we said, we'll start at the top. United and Tottenham, Manchester United and Tottenham. This was the first game with Timo Werner. The first game with our new center back, we had Van de Ven back. Like, we being Tottenham, we're starting to, we don't have Madison. Son's gone to the Asian Cup, so it's still not a full squad. We're actually, there's a lot more injuries than that, but we're starting to sort of get our team back to where we want to be. The team looked good. Like, I thought the Tottenham, I hate saying the word deserve, because in soccer, that's sort of a naughty, bad word, and I don't really like it. Some teams, you got to sort of hang back and just sort of take the punches and maybe catch somebody on the counter, which is kind of what, United did. But I did think that for where Spurs are in our development cycle or evolution cycle, I was happy with this performance. A little disappointed with the result, but a draw at Manchester United. Listen, we can give them a lot of shit, but at the end of the day, they're still a top, whatever they are, what, a 7-8 team right now.
Yeah.
Let me check the table. Manchester United, number 7. So listen, they're still a top team. Going to any top team in the Premier League is not easy. So I was happy, satisfied, I guess was the word I should use. I was satisfied with the performance, satisfied with the result. Everton, I was kind of happy for, not that he scored on Tottenham, but Haaland, I feel like, anytime you got a guy like that, just, it's good to see guys like that get some goals and sort of just, that he's struggling just as a human being, right? He's probably struggling. And so it's cool to see guys like that score the goal. Obviously, wouldn't have liked him to see, roof a shot in the second minute of the game against Tottenham. But a human interest, feature, I'm okay with that. The game itself, that's what I felt like. It was like, I feel like Tottenham came away satisfied. United probably should feel satisfied. Spurs are much better than anybody was expecting this season. Yes, you caught us at a little bit of a bad time, but it's been worse. We've had harder stretches.
I've seen you in your dark times.
I've
seen you in your dark times. So the way that you feel about Tottenham, or the way that you speak about Tottenham, I thought that you'd be disappointed with the result, especially with all the trials and tribulations that United has gone through this year. Yes, it's on the road at Old Trafford. Yes, you're missing a couple guys. I could pick up my phone and, the excuse guy is calling me that Sam's complaining again, but I won't do that. It's, for me, United's happier with the result. I think that we can agree that they're happier. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think it was more or less a fair result. I wouldn't say that one team, dominated the other. I wouldn't say that it was a total beatdown and United or Tottenham were lucky to get out. So yeah, I think it was fair. And I think both teams are kind of content, United being the happier of the two.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to say it. And I'll sound like a broken record, but I'm just sort of excited about where Tottenham's going. You get this team with James Madison, with the Son. I mean, goddamn, it's not like we're going to push to win the title, but like we're a top 4 team with those players. So
you're like the Sixers, like in the beginning of the process before before you guys signed Harden. So
did that help? Is that
no, that hurt. That's okay. When you sign Harden, that's when you start to go downhill.
We're done. You're done trusting the process when James Harden comes on.
That's right. So once you guys sign, the evil villain of world football, that's like
hopefully not Timo Werner.
Got some quality. Then
hopefully that's not Timo Werner. Although
that's when the process peaks and takes.
We did say last week that it would be really good and really important for Werner to have a good sort of first game, or at least first couple games. Not his best game. Not his best game. His first shot went into like rosette, as they say, among English commentators. And I was like, God damn it, here it is. It is again.
Welcome back to the Prem.
Right. The Timo experience.
Some things never change.
Right. So we'll see. Hopefully he bounces back and he puts himself in good situations and actually scores some. But that was not the start we were looking for from Timo. But whatever. I'm still going to be cautiously optimistic because you know what? I don't have another opportunity. Another.
That's choice. That's right.
Other game. Manchester City coming out, squeaking it out, I should say, at home against Newcastle. My real 2 thoughts on this game. 3 actually. Newcastle deserves some credit. Like they have been through some tough months here. They've sort of been, their performances have been pretty bad. And then they go to Man City and they come out of the gate hot. They put it on Manchester City for a lot of the first half. And not saying they were looking like the better team, but their counterattack was deadly. Isaac is on the counter, he's scary. And it just looked like they were playing with Man City, and I thought they were going to come out with a draw, if at worst. And then KDB showed up. So first thought, Newcastle deserves some credit. Second thought, KDB, what a freaking player. He just shows up, after 4 months of getting his hair styled, and just shows up on the field and, calmly passes the ball into the side net as only him and, Toni Kroos can do. And, it's just like, God, he was on the field for maybe 4 minutes. After 4 months out, I guess he did come on quickly the previous game, but whatever. He was on there for 4 minutes in the Premier League and just right back into it. Setting guys up, scoring goals. And then, of course, the final goal, going into stoppage time, 2-2, he found something called Oscar Bob, who I had not much of an idea about. And he found him with a beautiful ball. And this person, Oscar Bob, coming, out of the clouds, beautiful goal, brings the ball down, kind of maybe have one sort of lucky touch, but then like rounds the keeper and finishes in like the same foul step. Like, frick you, City. Where are you a couple of Oscar Bobs that can do this off the bench to win ball games in stoppage time? God damn it, City. It sort of was like, God damn it, this is the game. KDB coming back, Oscar Bob, whatever that is, coming off the bench, scoring ridiculous goals to win the game. It's like City's going to win this title again. They really
it's just kind of like that same old City type thing where it's like, even when they're up against it, even when it feels like they haven't had the better of the play, which they have those days from time to time, right? Like you gotta, if you have a chance to catch them, you gotta catch them and really put them under it, right? Like at this stage of the season, like dropping 2 points, it could be a big deal in the title race. And so it kind of felt like a same old City thing to me, where it's like, maybe we look back at this game at the end of the season and we say, you know what, like they might have stolen a couple points there
Yeah.
that they didn't necessarily deserve to have. And their difference makers just do it for them, right? Like when you need it the most, there's KDB.
That's why you pay extra for
Exactly.
difference makers. Like
That's right.
you cannot put a price on guys that are willing to make that kind of pass in that situation. There's so many midfielders that are, like, well, I don't want to lose the ball here in stoppage time or whatever. KDB's like, nope, I'm gonna put it on a dime right
Yeah.
over, the Trippier and let Oscar Bob do what Oscar Bob does, which is apparently ridiculous plays and score
Yeah.
ridiculous goals. And that's why you pay a premium for really, truly difference makers, which is
Yeah.
KDB.
And he's been there before, right? Like this is nothing new for
Right.
it's not like we're this emerging star KDB
It
is just
was not.
coming
It
on
was
and making a
nice and
difference,
not
right?
nice. It was something to be
Grounding.
reminded of it, though.
Oh
Just
yeah. Oh
the
yeah.
fact that KDB, he's back. And we've kind of been talking about this the last couple of weeks. Mitch brought it up a couple times. Like we kept saying, City doesn't feel like City and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They were missing Rodri. He's back. Now they were missing KDB. He's back. God damn it. City's going to win this thing again.
Yeah.
Too rich to fail. Too rich to fail.
Right.
That's what it's all about right there.
That's them. Hit him with a 10-pointer now. Hit him with a 10-pointer right now.
It's going to take more than that, I feel like.
I don't care if it's not a blank, if it's not a fair punishment. Hit him with it right now.
It's got to be 20.
Going in the last couple months, just crushing.
Thank God, Premier League. Thank you for not doing it last season.
Yeah.
All right. Power rankings we're skipping this week because there's no games and we don't really need to get into it. Quickly, though, Bournemouth and Liverpool, one of the very few games this weekend. Bournemouth is quietly having a pretty good season. They're in 12th position right now on 25 points. Liverpool, top of the table. Not a big deal, I guess, to some people. But you're looking at a month, perhaps, without Salah, without Kanate, I think, without some guys. Liverpool is one of the teams that I put out the post and which teams are losing a bunch for Africa Cup of Nations and the Asian Cup, and Liverpool is right among the top, whereas Manchester City, by the way, 0, not a single person. Is this month basically make or break? I mean,
absolutely, absolutely.
And then is this game? Is that too much? Can we put it's Bournemouth, right? So this is a game you should win. I think it's on the road, but is this a game that if it is on the road at Bournemouth, is this a game you lose? Will you? Because I'm all about early predictions, way too early, premature.
Of course.
Is this the type of game though you lose after City pulled out that win, deserve it or not? Is that the kind of sort of swing that changes the title?
I think it can be. I think with a manager that's as experienced as Klopp and with the players that they have in their dressing room, with the experience that they have, it won't be, regardless of the result. They've been here before. They've lost or won this game before. And so they'll know how to handle it. And they'll know and be reminded of them frequently that this can't be the turning of the tide of our season, because they are in first place right now. They are at the top of the table. And that might change, 10 times throughout the rest of the season. But this month, I do believe it is make or break. The month without without your stars, how you come out on the other side of this month will determine if Liverpool has a chance to win the title or not.
In this month, you have a game at home against Chelsea, which they have obviously not been great this season, but they've been playing better.
Yeah. So you never know with them. That's a wild card.
Of course.
Right?
They have the talent. It's just, can they get their shit together?
Yeah.
And then at Arsenal, February 4th, that will be a tough one. So those are games you got coming up on the schedule. So this will be interesting next few weeks. On the plus side, at least you got some cup competitions, which, obviously you never want to fall out of a cup competition, but honestly, if you have title ambitions, might not be the worst thing in the world. So just something to keep an eye on with Liverpool. Again, a lot of EFL Cup, a lot of FA Cup games going on this weekend. So we can basically leave it at that. We'll move on from the Premier League quickly on the round the world. So two things. There's the Super Cup, Spanish Super Cup beatdown. Real Madrid just hung it on Barcelona. And it's sort of, I think it's probably not too much to say. I mean, they just sort of showed the difference, the what's happened between Real Madrid and Barcelona. They would go back and forth, back and forth. Ronnie Messi, Ronnie Messi, Ronnie Messi. Now in the post Ronnie, post Messi universe, Barcelona has, their finances are out of control. There's rumors coming out that Xavi's losing the locker room.
Mhm.
Things are not going very well, even though Barcelona, I think they're in like third at this point. I think this game was telltale of where Real Madrid and Barcelona are right now, which is not on the same level, and
Sure.
maybe heading in different directions as well. If
Yeah.
I hate to say that. But it was just the game itself was a lot of fun, and I just want to point out that was a beatdown. That was an absolute beatdown. And as much shit as I talked about, them hosting the Spanish Super Cup in Saudi Arabia, all the games, especially like the Atletico Madrid, and Real Madrid, and then Barcelona and Real Madrid, they were awesome. They were like a really entertaining game. So I guess I got to take a little bit back on that one. Although I still think play Spanish Super Cup games in Spain. That's just, I don't know, basic
Yeah.
human behavior right there. Have you, just a quick question? We're not going to get into AFCON yet. It's really too early. Like some teams haven't even played yet.
Mhm.
Same thing with the Asian Cup. It's just, they're just getting going here. I will say shout out to the Asian Cup for having a lot of games that are going over. I like that, which we'll get into the overtrain in having Tody's best bets coming up here in just a second. But are you able to or interested in watching AFCON or Asian Cup at this point, or is it just sort of, will you at some point? Sort of, what are your interest level in those competitions?
Um, I mean, I would say lower than most. Um, I think that these tournaments, with the exception of, um, you know, the European championships,
Euros.
are like outside of those, which seem to be much more global. Um, because I do think that, I mean, obviously the football world runs through Europe. That's just kind of the reality of the situation. I think the other ones are kind of regional. And I think that if you rank them in terms of importance, or popularity, I think that these two would kind of be towards, I don't know, the bottom over on this side of the world for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And even in Europe, like I would be curious to see how many people across Europe are really interested in that competition to a real extent, right? To like a real deep extent. Like I would, time differences. Like I'm not waking up early morning to watch these games. If there's one on at a convenient time and it's two good nations, or it's later on in the tournament, it's at a convenient time. Like, yeah, of course, love to watch it. Love to watch good football. Um, but up until that point, if those thresholds aren't met, I would say personally it's pretty low. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into it. I've been watching them. So Asian Cup is on Paramount Plus. Unfortunately, AFCON is not easy to watch. It's on beIN,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't get. And you can obviously stream it on, some sites that give you Russian internet herpes. But like,
Yeah.
it's just, I wish AFCON. Honestly, I wish AFCON was on Paramount and Asian Cup was on beIN, because I would
Yeah.
probably be a little bit more into AFCON. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they're the storylines and the games themselves, like AFCON is crazy. Like
Yeah.
there's so much drama and just
Yeah.
crazy things that happen in the games, and AFCON would be a lot of fun. And I can't remember what, maybe I just used to get beIN or something. I think that might be
Yeah,
the
beIN
case.
used to be kind of like one of those free channels that came with
In the
any of
sports
your sports
package or something.
packages.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we don't
I
get it
think I
anymore.
might have it like with like I'm a YouTube TV guy. I might have it in one of those
Ah,
packages.
okay.
Um, but again, like if it's on at 10 o'clock at night or 4 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning, even like I can't promise you that there's 1 second of my day. Like if I go into the training facility and it's on the TV there, yeah, of course I'll sit down, have
Yeah.
breakfast and watch it, have my coffee and watch it.
I think the Asian games are on a little bit earlier, but the AFCON games are actually on a decent time. They're usually on like 10 a.m., 11 a.m.,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So I'm watching it and wagering on it. But I it's tough. I think that if it was like
Yeah.
on ESPN or Fox. I think it would be sort of a more of a thing.
Yeah,
And it's not there yet. Hopefully when they get later in the tournament, people will sort of tune in a little bit
for
more.
sure. I will say this. Disclaimer, I do not bet on soccer. I
Smart.
cannot and will not bet on soccer. Um,
Smart.
if I were a betting soccer man, as you are, there's one tournament that I would stay so far away from, and it's the African Cup of Nations. Like, that is the craziest tournament, and you never know what's going to happen. You never know what kind of crazy antics, like 10 minutes, games cut short by 10 minutes, or,
I remember that.
like
Yeah.
different players and different things, that visas and like all the stuff that is common in that part of the world. Like, that is probably the riskiest, you know, tournament of any association to bet on.
The
So good for
craziest
you,
things happen. Well, listen, it's more about I really, when it comes to this sort of thing where I don't know that much, I
Mm-hmm.
just do overs. That's all I do. I just sort
Yeah.
of sprinkle on. And so some games you can, find that there's two teams that have been scoring a lot, or they score a lot against each other, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They actually have some clear difference makers and that sort of thing. If
Mm-hmm.
you can find a couple and sprinkle like a not just a +2.5, but maybe a +5.5, which actually comes
Yes,
in
pay out a lot.
exactly, and
I will
that's the
say,
sort of thing.
I will say this too: the African Cup of Nations is always, it's a lock, an absolute lock for a massive goalkeeper error at least once or twice. Like, that is privy to the tournament. That it's almost a guarantee that, like, if that was a bet, like, will a goalkeeper make a massive mistake in this tournament, it'd be like minus 1,500.
Maybe that's why, deep down, maybe that's why I like
That's why
AFCON.
you have so much passion for this tournament. I understand. I get it. You're a hater.
Oh, I
That's fine.
like it. I like it. You,
That's
you,
fine.
you get me. You get me.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of wagering, it is stoppage time where we start every week with Ivan Tony's best bets. And as you are not a soccer betting man, I won't force you to do anything. If you have one, you're more than welcome to throw something out. But I will start and tell the people, Overtrain is hot. And I've been saying this for weeks and weeks and weeks. And yeah, we have a down week here and there. Last week was the hottest week ever. Let me tell you about the games that we had. This is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I won't go through all the games and all the scores, but the game on Wednesday was fine. I will actually do that. Chesterfield Gateshead, 5-0. MacArthur Western United on Thursday, 3-3. Friday was Cambuur All Stars for over, by the way. Cambuur in the Eerste Divisie in Netherlands. Cambuur and Maastricht 5-2. Saturday was Grimsby and Notts County in England, League Two, 5-5. No big deal.
Wow.
Gladbach and Stuttgart in the Bundesliga on Sunday, 3-1. So the goals we're talking about here was 5 on Wednesday, 6 on Thursday, 7 on Friday, 10 on Saturday, and just a measly 4 on Sunday. So listen, Overtrain is cooking hot, thermonuclear gas, whatever actually above thermonuclear is, that's what we're cooking on right now. So we're going to keep it going. We're going to keep it flying. I got to think of whatever the next level up from thermonuclear. I didn't think that was actually possible, but we actually hit that. So here we go. Wednesday through Sunday, 5 aside, Overtrains. This is what we're making money on this week. On Wednesday, not a lot of options. So we got to dig deep. We went to the Dutch KNVB Cup, which is like the FA Cup, US Open Cup. PSV is hosting Twente, FC Twente, and both those teams score goals. PSV is just an absolute machine at the moment. So on Wednesday we're going PSV and FC Twente. Thursday we're going to Spain, Atleti and Real Madrid. So they just played a game that was awesome in the Spanish Super Cup, Spanish/Saudi Arabian Super Cup, and goals galore. They obviously don't like each other. That game got a little heated. We had Antonio Rudiger giving Murata some titty twisters. This was just everything you want in a soccer game. They're coming right back and they're doing it again this weekend not weekend, but on Thursday. Atletico and hosting Real Madrid in the Copa del Rey. It's knockout, right? So you got to go for it. So there it is. Thursday, that's our over. Friday, Benfica and Boa Vista, two teams, near the top of Liga Portugal. They always score against each other. I think the last time they played, there was, I don't know, 6 goals, 8 goals, something like that. They always score against each other. This game is going over on Friday. Saturday, we had so many options on Saturday. I don't know if I came out with my favorite, but I went with the smart play, which is, maybe it's not one that's going to have 18 goals, but I really think it'll have, maybe 3 or 4. RBL, this is Bundesliga, RB Leipzig hosting Bayer Leverkusen. And of course, Bayer Leverkusen is the only team or a club left in the top 5 that is, on track for an invincible season. And I'm rooting for them because I'm sick of hearing about the goddamn Invincibles from, decades ago. Listen, my hate goes deep here. So that's Saturday, RBL hosting Leverkusen. And finally on Sunday, another day where we had all sorts of options. All the leagues are coming back. We had the Belgian league, we got Australia, we got Mexico, we got all my favorites are coming back. I'm going to Belgium, and not only am I going to Belgium, I'm going to the Belgian second division where Zulte Waregem or Waregem, I actually don't know how to pronounce it, not that I know how to pronounce anything. Zulte Waregem is hosting Genk U23. So basically Genk's B team. This is in the Belgian B League. Genk's U23 team, I'm keeping an eye on them. They get scored on, and they score a lot. I love them. They're not on the level of Cambuur, which is first ballot Hall of Fame, all-star, overtrained, legend of Cambuur this season. I actually could have picked them on Wednesday, or on Thursday, but I thought, you know what, I got to give them 1 week off. You got to give them a week off. It's like you got to let a field lay fallow for 1 season, and then the soybeans are going to come in hot. So I'm going to go. I'm leaving Cambuur alone for 1 week and going with Zulte Waregem and Genk U23 on Sunday. So there you go. There's our 5. We are hot. Every time I get too amped up, my red rocket is a little too big. Obviously, we're probably going to go 0 for 5 this week, but whatever. I'm feeling hot. I'm feeling good, and I hope everybody rides with me. Now, do you got one?
I have 2 questions for you, but I will say this first. There was so much hope this week that you were going to go a bunch of teams that people have actually heard of before, because throughout from Thursday all the way through, it's oh, okay. I know these teams. I've heard of these teams.
I know.
And, we pull out Zulte Waregem of the second Belgian league. And it's okay, no, he's back to his antics.
We got it.
He's digging deep on this.
We're back, baby.
First question. You mentioned Boavista. I haven't heard of them in a while. Is Reggie Cannon still there?
I don't believe he is. And whether they're still, not paying their players or not, I'm not sure. I hope
Where is he?
He went to somewhere in the championship, I believe.
Okay.
QPR, maybe. Let me see.
Oh, okay.
He is playing at QPR.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's been playing pretty well, actually, and hopefully getting paid to do so. So obviously a step up from whatever Boavista was doing.
Yeah. My second question is, when Ivan Toney is off of his ban,
soon,
is the segment still going to be Ivan Toney's best bets, or are we going to find some other sucker that takes the namesake?
I mean, I think that what's his name, Tonelli, is ready to just take it over. He's ready to go. And in fact,
has a good ring to it.
Ivan Toney, it does actually. What is it, Luca Tonelli? What was his first name? But
Sandro
being is that damn it. Why? How am I forgetting his name? My brain is actually Sandro. You're right. So Sandro Tonelli. So we could just seamlessly transition it to Sandro Tonelli's best bets. But the thing is that Ivan Toney wasn't even the first one who got caught. But for some reason, it just came at the right time. I think actually Mikey gets credit for this one. Ivan Toney, it has a ring to it.
It does.
I feel like it'd be disrespectful. He's served his time to authority, or to served his time, and now he's back. He's going to be in the limelight. I think this week. I think he's actually back, as of right now. I think he deserves to hold on to that name. He's done his time, and now he just gets to enjoy it. It's not a fad.
He's earned the naming rights to the award.
100%.
I like it. I like it.
He's been through the thick of it. Now it's time to enjoy. Being the namesake of Sam's Army's best bets.
Yeah.
So there we go. There's our best bets. We'll go quickly through Goa's, everyone's favorite segment. As everybody knows, it's basically GOATest of all weeks. So it could be MVP, LVP, individual or group. Now, I have, as usual, a list that's way too long. So, but I'll let you go first if you have somebody, because I don't want to take yours.
Well, mine, we spoke about him already in the show. It's gonna be Messi. You
Okay.
know, like I'll give it to him and bring on all the haters, bring on all the slander. But the guy who won the greatest player in the world award plays in our league, on our home soil, and he chose to be here. So he's my goer.
And subtext, he probably put some money in your pocket.
Yeah, eventually I hope he does in a roundabout way. Not him personally, because that'd be kind of belittling, but I wouldn't discriminate against that either. Like if he wants to, I'm not going to complain. But he's my Goa, he's my goat, and we're looking forward to MLS season right around the corner.
Can't argue with that. You can never you could just sort of put Messi in each week, and I would never argue with it. Be like, yeah, okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, so my goals this week. I got a couple honorable mentions as per usual. I'll try and go through them quickly. So Aaron Bupenza of FC Cincinnati may be in a little bit of hot water at the moment. Apparently, like a sex tape leaked that may or may not have been shot while in his home country of Gabon, and apparently it's illegal to film pornography or whatever in Gabon. Yeah, so it's unclear. The internet really ran with it and said, like, Gabon is, the authorities are onto him and, looking to arrest him. It's not clear that that's true, but you don't really, it's not something you really want to be hanging over your head. You want to go see grandma. And be worried about, maybe getting arrested for, it sounds like it was completely not his fault, by the way. It was maybe his fault for having a sex tape or doing whatever, being involved in the making of a sex tape. But, he was not involved with the leaking of the sex tape.
That's
so, right. And again, this is all alleged. There's no facts here.
Of course. It hasn't been released to the, I haven't seen it. I don't know about you, but I haven't.
I haven't either.
I have not searched for this. I promise.
I saw a lot of headlines on Twitter, and I just ran with it. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that. I got no problem. Listen, no kink shaming on Sam's Army. And, Bupenza, you want to make some sex tapes, honestly, go for it. I hope you do not get arrested for it. And I hope you just keep, being your bad self with FC Cincinnati. And we'll go for there. But you get an honorable mention for, potentially getting arrested when you want to go see grandma.
Congrats on the sex.
Yes, and congrats on the sex. Most important.
Congrats on the sex.
Also, another AFCON story. Ghana's Abdul Fatwa. Let's see. So he declined a call up to the Ghana team for AFCON. Said, you know what? I want to stay with Leicester. I want to help them, get back in the Premier League. So his first game with Leicester since AFCON started, he got a red card. And so he's basically suspended from now until the end of AFCON. So, his heart was in the right place, Leicester fans would say. But, some things, they just don't work out. So that stinks for Abdul Fatwa. Also, I could give this to a lot of people, but Mario Zagallo and Franz Beckenbauer. That was a auto correct, by the way.
Oh yeah, okay.
So Zagallo and Beckenbauer are among the only 3 people in the world to be a member of the club. So there's 3 of them that to win the World Cup as both a player and a manager. Okay, so we got Zagallo and Beckenbauer. And they both passed away within 3 days of each other. And the other person, this guy's still at it, still kicking it, still coaching. In fact, can you name him?
World Cup
winner as a player and a coach.
Wow. No.
It's tough. It's Didier Deschamps for France.
Oh, okay. I should have gotten that. I should have gotten.
But on the spot would be tough.
I'm trying to think of like current like recent World Cup winning managers.
Yeah.
And that literally should have been my second
Second
name. But for some reason I was thinking Spain or Brazil, and I don't know many Brazilian coaches that are,
or any Brazilian teams that won it recently.
Yeah. Or like one of them, it could have been like an old Uruguayan player who ended up being a really good manager, like in the 40s when my parents weren't even thought of yet. My grandparents were probably like 10. So I don't know.
You were thinking too hard.
Dropped the ball.
You were thinking too hard on that one.
No, you're right.
That happens. That happens.
Yeah.
So shout out to them, and actually shout out to the Saudi Arabian fans who I don't know what game it was, but the Saudi Arabian fans who booed the during the minute of silence, or whistled during the minute of silence. I saw a lot of things so the minute of silence was for, I think, Beckenbauer, and I saw a lot of explanations or suggestions about why it was, maybe cultural differences and everything. I don't know, it seems pretty cut and dry, like, we're going to do a moment of silence here, and they're just
everyone just shut up,
fuck that. We're just gonna whistle our dicks off. That was weird. So maybe they're actually the goers for that one. Last honorable mention, Andre Onana. So he rushed from Manchester United. There's a big story, there's sort of big headlines on this. He rushed, he stayed for the Manchester United game against Tottenham Hotspur, then got a private plane, and it was taking him to AFCON, and he was going to play in that first game for Cameroon. Alas, the weather had different ideas, and he had to fly or land a couple hours away, and it was just, he didn't get there on time. He didn't even make the team sheet for the game. So Andre Onana, obviously there were a lot of jokes about what happened there, and I'm going to leave those alone. Those are low-hanging fruit. We're too refined around here.
Effort was there.
Exactly. And now the actual Goa, done with the honorable mentions, actual Goa, Coventry City fans. This is pretty low. We've talked about a lot of low things, but this is bad. So Coventry City were playing Leicester City this past weekend, and over the highway, some fans hung a banner that basically made light of the helicopter crash that killed Leicester City's owner at the time, 2018 or whatever. And just like, I know there's a lot of jokes and sort of like there's banter, and there's the songs that people have sort of sung in terribly poor taste about Liverpool tragedies and Manchester United tragedies and all this stuff. And they're bad, right? That's bad taste, and all that. But this, for some reason, it's so new and it's so sort of real that this was just beyond the pale. Like, I've got a pretty dark sense of humor, I'll be honest. And this was like, that's not funny, like, at all. No. Like, there was just nothing good about it. Like, what are you? It's to the point where I almost think like it was a false flag of like Leicester City fans who may have hung this. This is my brain. Like, I'm going QAnon here, but like it was so bad. Like, what did you think was going to happen here, other than like the entire, public and especially social media are going to come down hard on your entire fan base, which is what happened, and this is what should have happened.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so. I'm with you. Like, I've got a pretty dark sense of humor. Like, there are some things that probably aren't funny, that shouldn't be joked about, that sometimes I may think are kind of funny, and that's just kind of human nature, and that's a banter, and that's just kind of the way humans are. But there are some things that you cross the line, like you cross the line on that one.
A helicopter crash that killed the owner 5 years ago, and his son is still the owner. Like, and
then we're gonna fly something, like, we're going to put something in the air that's like not celebrating, but like, making light. Yeah.
Just like, come on. Like,
of his death. That's
have some, just like, if you're going to be a troll, be like a funny troll, or be, something. That's just terribly poor taste. You're a terribly poor troll with terribly poor taste.
Nobody thinks that's funny outside of, certain people in that fan base. I'm sure that, a lot of people in that fan base, while they're being they're being grouped into this hatred, are obviously also disgusted, maybe more so than other people around, that they're fans of their club would do something like that.
Right.
So
they're probably more mad than anybody, because they're now sort of the ones at the getting all the hate online, and
Yep.
this sort of thing does actually stick with the fan base, right? I mean, people will be talking about this for probably years to come, and not
Absolutely.
just when Leicester City comes to town. So
Right.
definite Goa material there for whatever the Coventry City fans.
Yeah. You wanted to give a quick honorable mention to Jose Mourinho.
Oh, that's a good
Unlucky
one.
pal.
That's
Better
a good
luck.
one.
Better luck in your next job.
Dear leader.
Where's he going? Where's Jose gonna go?
If I have one wish in this world, I really hope he goes to MLS.
Honestly,
I want him in MLS. I've wanted this for years.
There are some clubs that I think would be perfect for him. Like I see him for some reason. I don't know why. Just like the perfect Portland Timbers manager. Like just this
Portland Timbers of all
teams. Like this gloomy, dark city where he's just like a villain in like he's a villain in his own right in like a gloomy place where people are like, oh, no one wants to go there.
I was thinking like Galaxy. He could go to LA and just
that's just too easy. It's too easy. I'm sick of people like, oh, he wants to go to only big markets like Miami or LA.
Or Miami.
Like, right. Okay, we get it. Who doesn't want to live there? Those are both great places to live. Fine. No big deal. But like, let's put him somewhere where he's like a proper villain, like where he deserves to be.
Villain.
Maybe Portland's not the right place for that. Maybe Portland's not the right place for that.
There's the headline here. The subtext of it is that Alex Bono hates Portland.
Don't say that because we play them away second game of the season. So please cut it out. Editor, cut it out.
Don't clip it.
It's honestly, I'm just kidding. I actually think Portland's an awesome place. I can
hear you backtracking. Really cool. I can hear you backtracking.
I keep digging, right? I'm just still. No, but like a place where like he could be that villain Jose, and people can hate on him, and he'll just like take it all in. You're like, yep. No problem.
I love it. I really hope he comes to MLS. I mean, first of all, I'm sure he would do well here. I'm sure he would love life here.
Sure.
And he would just bring so many eyeballs, and like he is, in terms of coaches, he is the one true content god. Like everything he does is incredible.
Montreal, that's the place.
Montreal might be good.
No, he is. He is just like everything he does is worthy of being clipped and posted. Like that's.
It is. He gets red cards left and right, and like we need him.
Incredible.
We need him in MLS. I've been saying I've been saying this for years, and like I thought maybe after Tottenham he might make the jump, but I think now's the time.
Could be. I don't know. The problem is now like all these jobs are filled in MLS. Like where are you going to fire?
Wait a couple months and
wait a couple months. Wait till the summer. Like there will be someone who gets fired, right?
Take a little trip. Enjoy your life a little bit. Be, dear leader, just in your own little world there, and probably do some cool Instagram, maybe some rap videos. And then come July, there's going to be some big openings, and that's your time.
Take the wife on a trip, get away, go to the tropics.
Yeah.
And then by the time the summer comes, when you start to get bored, and she's like, all right, you need to go find something to do. MLS. We're moving to America, baby.
I'm glad you brought that up. It should have been in the headlines, to be honest, but it came out like hours ago. It's brand new. It's brand new. I didn't drop the ball, but I definitely dropped the ball, and thank you for helping me out.
That's all right. We tossed it in.
Oh, Alex Bono, it's always great to have you. Thank you for hopping on. We will obviously be rooting for you and for DC United in the season to come. And Troy Lesane, obviously, best of luck on the season. Hopefully, you'll come back again soon and sort of give us a lay of the land on how things are going.
Definitely. We're going to Saudi for preseason, so maybe I'll send you a little clip, a little selfie video of, me and King Al Rumayyan.
There you go. You and MBS. Yeah. Post a little video of you and MBS.
I'm not taking a side. I'm not taking a side on that one. I won't do it.
Lips are sealed.
That's right.
Hopefully nobody
sealed, I'm sure.
Hopefully nobody, the Saudi Immigration Authority is watching or listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
All right, man. No, really do appreciate it, and enjoy Saudi Arabia, and come on again. We always are happy to have you. Everybody listening, thank you. You guys are the best. We'll see you next week. Cheers, guys.